It was supposed to be a peaceful afternoon at the community pool. The sun was shining, the water was sparkling, and everyone was just trying to enjoy a relaxing summer day. But for one woman, things took a turn she never saw coming. A local homeowner, who we'll just call Karen, had decided it was her personal duty to patrol the pool, making sure only the right people were there. And when she spotted a black woman enjoying the water, something in her just couldn't let it slide. Without asking any questions, without even considering she might be wrong, Karen marched over and demanded to know what this woman was doing there. The woman, calm but clearly annoyed, told her she lived in the neighborhood. But Karen wasn't buying it. She pulled out her phone and did what Karens do. She called the cops. The situation escalated fast, with Karen insisting this woman was trespassing and needed to be removed immediately. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. The woman wasn't just any resident. She wasn't some random visitor. She was someone Karen never should have messed with, because when the cops arrived and the truth came out, well, let's just say Karen was in for the shock of her life. Stick around, because this is one story you don't want to miss. The police arrived within minutes, their presence immediately shifting the energy at the pool. People lounging nearby glanced up from their sunbathing, curious but unsure what was happening. Karen, standing tall with her arms crossed, was ready to play the victim. She greeted the officers with an exaggerated sigh of relief, acting like she had just saved the neighborhood from an intruder. "She doesn't live here," Karen insisted, pointing at the woman still calmly sitting on the pool's edge. "She refused to show me her ID. I'm sure she's trespassing." The officers turned to the woman, who had been watching everything unfold with a mix of disbelief and frustration. She took a deep breath before finally standing up. "I live here," she said firmly. "I own a home in this neighborhood." Her voice was steady, but there was an unmistakable edge to it, like she had been through this kind of situation before. One of the officers hesitated, glancing between Karen and the woman. "Ma'am, do you have any form of identification?" he asked. At that moment, a quiet tension spread through the air. The woman didn't move right away. Instead, she studied Karen, who still had that smug look of authority on her face. And then, with a slow, deliberate motion, she reached for her bag. Because Karen had no idea who she had just messed with. The woman pulled out her wallet and casually flipped it open. But instead of a driver's license, what she revealed made everyone, including the officers, pause. A gleaming official ID stared back at them, bold letters making it impossible to miss. Asterisk asterisk, State Senator asterisk asterisk. For a moment, there was nothing but stunned silence. Karen's confident smirk faded almost instantly, her eyes darting from the ID to the senator's face, as if trying to convince herself this was some kind of joke. The officers, suddenly much more alert, exchanged quick glances before one of them cleared his throat. "Ma'am, you're a senator?" he asked, his tone shifting from authority to caution. The senator nodded, her expression unreadable. "That's right, and I've lived in this neighborhood for years." She turned her gaze back to Karen. "So tell me again why you thought I didn't belong here." Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. The confidence she had moments ago, the one that had her calling the cops without hesitation, was nowhere to be found. She fumbled for an explanation, glancing around as if hoping someone would jump in to defend her. But the other poolgoers had gone quiet, watching the scene unfold with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. One of the officers shifted uncomfortably before addressing the senator. "We're sorry for the misunderstanding, ma'am. Just following up on a report." But the senator wasn't done yet. She folded her arms, her voice calm but firm. "A report based on what exactly?" Her assumptions. She glanced around the pool, her gaze landing on a few familiar faces, neighbors who had seen her before, who knew she lived there. Yet none of them had stepped in when Karen made the call. Karen's face had gone pale, but she still couldn't seem to admit she was wrong. I was just making sure everyone here followed the rules," she stammered. "It's nothing personal." The senator let out a small laugh, one that wasn't amused at all. "Oh, it's very personal," she said. Because this isn't about pool rules. It never was. The tension in the air thickened, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy between them. Karen was out of excuses, the officers were stuck in an awkward limbo, and the entire pool had turned into a silent courtroom, waiting to see what would happen next. But this wasn't over, not even close. The silence stretched on, thick with the weight of what had just been revealed. Karen stood frozen, her arms crossed tighter now, like she was trying to shield herself from the reality sinking in. The officers shifted awkwardly, clearly realizing they had walked into something much bigger than a simple trespassing call. The pool had gone still, no splashing, no chatter, just quiet anticipation. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. The senator, calm but unwavering, took a step closer to Karen. "So, let me get this straight," she said slowly. "You saw me sitting by the pool, assumed I didn't belong here, and instead of simply asking me like a decent neighbor, you called the police?" Karen swallowed hard. I did ask you," she muttered. The senator raised an eyebrow. "No, you accused me. You demanded proof, like I had to justify my own presence in my own neighborhood." Her voice was steady, but there was an undeniable power behind it. "Tell me, Karen, do you check everyone's ID at the pool, or just people who look like me?" Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her eyes darted toward the officers, searching for support, but they weren't coming to her rescue. The weight of her actions was finally pressing down on her, and for the first time, it looked like she knew she had messed up. But the senator wasn't done. She turned to the officers now. "I'd like to know something," she said. "When you got the call, did she mention why she thought I didn't belong here? Did she say anything other than the fact that I refused to show my ID?" The officers hesitated. One cleared his throat. "She reported a possible trespasser, ma'am," he said carefully. "We have to respond to those calls." The senator gave a small nod. "Of course, and yet, here we are, me proving my identity, while the person who called you has nothing to back up her claims except her own assumptions." She let that hang in the air, letting everyone feel the weight of what she was saying. Karen shifted on her feet. "I didn't mean." "You did mean," the senator cut in sharply. "And this isn't the first time this has happened. Not to me, not to others." Her voice didn't rise, but the force behind her words was undeniable. "So, tell me, officers, what happens now?" The tension in the air was suffocating. The moment of truth was coming, and no one could look away. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had walked into this thinking it was a simple trespassing call, but now they realized they were standing in the middle of something much bigger. The weight of the senator's words settled over them, and for the first time, it was clear they weren't just dealing with a mistaken identity. They were part of a much larger problem, and everyone at the pool knew it. Karen, still reeling, tried to salvage what little control she thought she had left. "Look, I was just trying to keep the community safe," she said, her voice thinner now, more defensive. "I didn't mean to." "Safe from what Karen?" The senator interrupted, her eyes sharp. "From a homeowner sitting by the pool. From a neighbor you've probably passed by dozens of times. Or just from someone who didn't look the way you expected." Karen took a small step back, her fingers gripping the strap of her pool bag like she wanted to disappear into it. The people around them weren't just watching anymore. They were listening, and the uncomfortable truth was settling in. Then, just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any worse for Karen, another voice cut through the silence. She knew who you were. Everyone turned toward the deep, steady voice coming from a man standing near the fence. He was older, maybe in his 60s, dressed in a polo and khaki shorts, a long-time resident by the looks of him. His arms were crossed, and his expression was unreadable, but there was something knowing in his gaze. Karen whipped around. "Excuse me." The man took a step forward. "She knew exactly who you were," he repeated, his voice even. "You've been on the HOA board for years, Karen. You've attended community meetings. You've sent out newsletters. And *U* were at the last town hall when Senator Williams spoke about new housing initiatives for this area. He glanced toward the senator. I remember because I was there too. A slow, stunned realization spread through the crowd. This wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. Karen hadn't just assumed the senator was trespassing. She had recognized her and still called the cops. Karen's face turned bright red, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to come up with a defense, but nothing came out. The senator exhaled, shaking her head. So, it wasn't ignorance, she said, her voice quieter now, but still razor-sharp. It was something else entirely. The officers stood frozen, unsure how to respond. The pool had never been quieter, and Karen, she had nowhere left to run. Karen's hands trembled as she clutched her pool bag, her face frozen in panic. The weight of the truth had crashed down on her, and now there was nowhere left to hide. The crowd was no longer just watching, they were judging. The quiet murmurs of neighbors, the side glances, the realization spreading through the pool deck that this wasn't a simple misunderstanding. One of the officers exhaled and turned back to the senator. "Ma'am, I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience," he said, his voice carefully measured. "It's clear you're a resident here. There's no issue." But the senator wasn't looking at the officers. She was still watching Karen, her expression unreadable. "You knew who I was," she said again, softer this time. "And you still made that call." Karen shook her head quickly, her voice shaking. "I just panicked. I thought." "No," the senator cut her off, her tone firm but calm. "You thought you could get away with it." A sharp, uncomfortable silence followed. Karen looked at the neighbors around her, but for the first time, no one was on her side. The people she had once casually chatted with at HOA meetings were avoiding her gaze. A few of them exchanged knowing looks, as if finally piecing together a pattern they had ignored for too long. And then the final twist. A woman near the back of the crowd spoke up, another resident, younger, with a laptop balanced on her knee. I just checked the HOA rules," she said, her voice hesitant but clear. "And Karen's actually violating one right now." Karen spun around. "What?" The woman tilted her screen for others to see. HOA board members aren't supposed to make unauthorized reports to law enforcement on behalf of the association, she read. "It's in the bylaws. If they do, they can be removed." A murmur spread through the crowd. Karen's eyes widened in horror. The older man from earlier nodded. "Sounds about right. And considering this isn't the first time she's made complaints about certain neighbors." He trailed off, letting the implications sink in. Karen's face drained of color. I didn't mean." The senator finally sighed, shaking her head. "Karen, I don't need an apology," she said. "I need accountability." One of the officers cleared his throat. "Well, ma'am," he said, turning to Karen, "since this was a false report, we'll need a statement from you." Karen took a step back, her world crumbling around her. The very system she thought would protect her had turned against her. And as the sun continued shining over the pool, it was clear Karen wasn't the one in control anymore. Karen stood there, her mouth slightly open, but she had no defense left. The reality of what had just happened, what she had done, was written all over her face. The neighbors she once felt comfortable around were now looking at her differently. Some shook their heads, others whispered, and a few simply stared, waiting to see how she would respond. But for the first time, she had nothing to say. The senator adjusted the strap on her bag and took a slow breath. "I'm not here to ruin anyone's life," she said, her voice steady. "But am here to make sure people understand that actions have consequences." She turned to the officers. "I'll be filing a formal complaint with the HOA. I suggest the board take a long, hard look at how it handles issues like this." The older man who had spoken up earlier nodded. "I think that's long overdue." Karen swallowed hard and turned to leave, her shoulders hunched as she hurried toward the exit, avoiding eye contact with everyone. The same pool she once felt entitled to control now felt too small for her.